Morning, Chris.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thought I was going to be here by myself.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't officially met. I've just heard all about you.
Oh, right.
You're on Masters, right? I think you did the EMEO team, yeah?
So I did, yes. Yeah, correct.
That's right. Yeah.
Had a bit going on, so I didn't do I didn't join your group in APAC, even though I'm here.
Yeah, where are you? Melbourne or Sydney?
Well, I'm in Sydney at the moment. I've actually just decided to move back to Melbourne. There's a whole bunch of background to that, but yes, I've just decided to move back. I think it's best for my family as well, with my parents' health. So that's happening in 2 weeks.
Okay, all exciting times. All right, just before we kick off, let me give everyone a bit of a push to come on. Okay, so Chris, have you been on partner call, Crystal Circle calls before, or is this your first?
No, that's my first one.
Okay, but have you had a session with Michelle Knowlting to kind of go through what your niche is and?
Yes. So I did it because I actually joined late last year. So I have had a couple of calls with Michelle already. And I did GAP with Michelle Knowlting as well as Masters in March. So
gotcha. All right. Well, if you've done GAP, you're probably a decent way there with your plans. So it'd be good to catch up on where that is. Hello, Glenn. Good to see you.
Hey, Donna. Good to see you too.
Is it
back to 100?
Yeah, back to 100%. You know, when I had COVID, I was had no energy. I was super tired. And now I'm well and truly out of it. I can't sleep. I'm so excited and full of energy. So it's day and night, polar opposite. But yeah, feeling good. So it's good to be back. That's for sure. Cool. And well, hey, you're going to see me twice a month by the looks of things. So.
Yeah, that's right. It will be a bit that way. They're kind of somewhat close together, but not at least in the same week, which will give us a little bit of time to put things out a bit. So
we'll kind of put our partnerships cap on for this call, and we'll put our other business hat on overall on the other one. I mean. Yeah. It doesn't matter, but obviously, the theme of this course is a bit of partnership. Yeah, cool, awesome. So it looks like Jenny is coming. Okay, here we all come. Awesome. And Sharon is going to be joining us, but just in 30 minutes' time. Here comes David. All right, I'm host and running it today. Normally I have someone who, looks after the waiting room. So just excuse me while I let people in and everyone gets settled, and then we can kick off. Hi, Simonia.
Hello, everyone. I'm driving, unfortunately. I'm trying really hard to get to my destination. It might be another 15 minutes.
Okay. Well, look, I was actually going to ask people, is this time of the call good, or do we need to push it back to, 15 minutes so everyone has time to kind of do their morning runs and that, so that we can start dead on the hour? What is best for you guys? Is the time good?
For me, on this part of the world, this time is okay, but I have another meeting actually 2 hours ahead of this one. So it runs from 5 to 7, which is Eastern PM evening. I mean, much later, I'll probably be falling asleep, but so it works. It just means that I have to end one and start another one.
Okay, yeah, that's the Zoom world, isn't it? Okay, all right, well, we'll keep it as is. I'll check in with Sharon when she comes. I'm not sure if, I know she's running another program. So I'm not sure if that's a consistent thing or just a one-off thing today, but we'll just see that we can get everyone on time so we can kick off. Great to see everyone. And hi, Jenny. We've not met yet either.
Yes, I certainly have seen you on different just presentations, so I'm very excited to be working with you. I'm sorry, I don't know what problem I had with my computer. I've been trying to get on, it wasn't working, so I'm now on my phone, which is less than ideal. I don't know why. This has never happened before.
Murphy's Law, hey? Those things happen to me, like, you know, the computer will do a tech update overnight and then you sit there tapping your fingers in the morning when you've got 10 seconds to get on a call. Well, look, see if you can get the computer going while you're just listening in, Jenny, because I am going to share some slides, and also I would love for all of you to share your slides about where you're at as well. So for those who don't know me, I am Donna, and I'm going to be your mentor on this partnerships call. I actually head up the mentoring for Roger across Entrepreneurs Institute. So most of my time is in the main Crystal Circle program, but also I write like curriculums for the micro schools or the workshops or the masterclasses that various people run. So that's me. And so we're going to get into it today to see where you're all at with your niche and your focus. My goal for all of you is to really make sure that we have crystal clear clarity on what your niche is, who your avatars are, what's the whole 5 Ps component, and what does your pathway for them to look like. Obviously, we want to tie that in with what your financial goals are, and also discuss what is the size of your business, what's the size of your community. Therefore, we can look at what are the best strategies for you to build and reach that first milestone. Because if you have no community, it's not about going out and spending money on social media ads and pathways and things like that to begin with. It's going to be more about who has your clients, who can you partner with, how can you parachute in to other communities. But if you do have a community, that's where we want to look at what's the different routes to market there. Are we going to have an email campaign that's linked in with your offer, and then your nurturing sequences? Is it also about having, Facebook ads starting to happen? Are you doing downloads? What's your lead magnet? What's the pathway that's ideal for you? So that is my goal, is to really make sure that we have traction and that you guys have a really clear plan that you can follow as well, right? Because if we don't have that plan, we have the greatest of intentions, but it's harder. I know many of you know this, you're seasoned business owners. When you don't have the plan, you can kind of ride the wave of what's in front of you, and therefore we don't always hit our milestones. So I'm not sure, all of you probably potentially have not met each other as well. So it'd be great today, just as you share, to really listen to the person who's sharing so that you can get to know them as well, and we can ask some questions as we go too. So what I'm going to kick off with, thank you all for filling in your questions. I think some are still popping in things. Oh, some have come in since I last looked. Okay, that's good. I want to start with essentially the Genius You formula that we're going to be stepping you guys through. You may have seen Roger go through this. It's not reinventing the wheel. It is very similar to the promotion plans. If you've been with us for some time, it's a similar format, but we're just curating it to be very level 2 niche specific, or if anyone is on the call and actually has a community they're building more so than a niche, we can look at that as well. So what we look at is really, the overall $1 million Genius formula. This is what we set our companies up with. This is what we work with our key partners like Marcus De Maria with Investment Mastery, with Joe Formosa in Health Dynamics. And this is what our level 3 partners are themselves designing out and doing as well. So, Glenn, I know you've seen our team charter and promo plans. When we break this down, it's not going to be different for the first part, but obviously when we get into things like setting up your data and your dashboard on Genius U and your profiles and things like that, that is very specific to being a partner with us. So the first, actually, I'm going to jump to, let's jump to this one. Just added number 1, a bit different step. This is, so as we go through this just quickly now, I want you to be thinking, yes, I've got that. No, I don't have that. And in a moment, I'll get you to share your plans with where you're at as well. And we can have a look at those. Or if you haven't got a plan, we can talk about where you need to start. So first of all, step number 1, just let Jenny back in. Step number 1 is choosing your niche and your level that you're playing at. Startup is, or that they are essentially. So, niche and level, are you focusing on a startup niche? Are they more scale up? Are they more investors? Are they more of a lifestyle kind of level? So let's just have a look. We might do this kind of one by one. That would be good. So Glenn, I'm going to pick on you to start off with. I'd love for you to share who you are. And hi, David. Good to see you again. Love for you guys to share who you are, what your business is, what niche you're in, and what is the level of that niche.
Cool.
Either of you can share.
Yeah, well, I'm Glenn and David. Yeah, we're business partners. Our business, our website's called Gold Survival Guide, and in a nutshell, we sell precious metals. So we sell gold and silver bullion, so gold coins and bars, and silver coins and bars. We do that via. We've been going for quite a while, for 10 or 12 years, and so we've, maybe by luck or by accident, we kind of adopt a sort of education first, and then kind of, well, we don't really see ourselves as selling, I suppose. That seems to work. We kind of educate first, and then people will generally come and buy from us later. So that's worked pretty well for us up until now, and just with the kind of current environment, there's definitely a lot more interest from a broader range of people than what we had in the past in the products that we sell. And so, yeah, that's our niche. In terms
how would you describe the niche, Glenn? Like succinctly?
You mean in terms of, you're thinking, you mean explaining more like who our customers are, or?
Well, a niche is like, I mean, broadly, you've got niches like tourism, investing. Gotcha. You might have a niche like, hospitality, legal, so what would you say your niche is?
I mean, you'd say we're in the investing space then, really. Even though we don't really talk about gold and silver being investment, we kind of position them more as like a wealth insurance or protecting your wealth in the future. But I mean, effectively, it's in that kind of investing or wealth management, I suppose you might call it. Space.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to say something, David? Sorry.
No, carry on. That's just protecting your wealth.
You're just keeping him in line, are you, David?
That's right. Carry on.
Cool. Okay. And the individual that you would, so your avatar, how would you describe your avatar?
Yeah, we've got a few. I mean, probably the one that springs to mind the most is generally like a kind of freedom-oriented, freedom-loving type person. So they kind of want control of their own life and their own destiny, and they're often into anything kind of to do with that, which could be in the like health and general wellness kind of space as well. Yeah, and it'll often be around. Yeah, I mean, I guess we use freedom because that can apply into a lot of areas of your life. So that's probably
yeah.
You know,
And so yeah, so this is where it gets interesting, right? So we've obviously in our partnership side of the business tend to categorize our avatars into startup, scale up, investor, or lifestyle level. Now, you might have them actually across all four. You might say, well, and this is for the education purposes, right? But obviously the education side of it is to lead in ultimate sales. And so if you are looking at, okay, who's the avatar that we want to get in front of with the education side so that we get more traction in that niche that results in sales? Is there one in particular? And I want you to think about the ones that aren't kind of already buying without the need for education.
Yep. Well, I guess thinking about it and thinking back to like the Seth Godin workshop there recently, where he talked about your what was his phrase?
Minimum viable audience.
Minimum viable audience. Yes, I mean that got us kind of thinking. I think we've already talked about this in the past as well. In terms of with what we do, we can create more impact and create more profit for ourselves as well with people that have got a larger, net worth and therefore, want to put a small percentage of that into precious metals. And there's lots of people that are like that, but don't have any exposure to precious metals and don't know anything about it. So that's probably the type of person that ideally we'll get in front of first and the fastest, because that's where we can probably have the most impact. And then that lets us then expand that out into reaching more people. And even I think we talked about it with Michelle the other night, even reaching into like younger people who generally younger people aren't that interested in precious metals. Our avatars probably in the 40 to 70-year-olds really.
Hey, we're still young when we're in our 40s, just saying. Okay, so really, I mean,
young people.
When I hear you talking, Glenn, I mean, I think the two for you are probably the investor and the scale up. And the reason I say that is that if you don't try and focus on all four, and you're actually, I mean, you're definitely the investor, right? But the reason I put scale up in there is that they're also often the business owners that the business is doing well and they have that extra cash that they want to do something with. Now, by focusing on those, it doesn't mean that you're going to miss the startups or the lifestyles, because people will still find you. It just means that you're probably going to skim out of that group those that are answering the call the same as the scale ups and the investors would be.
That fits in with what we discussed with Michelle then the other night. We probably just didn't have that terminology around it. So yeah, so your scale up is more your entrepreneurial types that have got excess cash flow and capital.
Yeah.
And then your investors, well, your investors are kind of obvious, I suppose, what your investors are.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, I don't know if there is a difference between like the scale up or the investors. I mean, the investors have obviously got wealth. The thing is whether they've got, the wealth and it's growing that they're wanting to put more in. How much of your clients is like repeat business where they get more cash, they top up?
Yeah, there's a reasonable percentage. We have kind of got that tracked. We'll be able to track that easier in the future as well. But yeah, there's I don't know, in terms of a percentage of it, I probably haven't looked lately, but it was higher than we thought, actually. I think when I look back, I kind of thought it would only be like a handful, like a few percent, that people would just kind of get what they needed and that'd be that. But yeah, I don't know. Do you want to hazard a guess, David, at a number if you're still there? I'm kind of, I think when we look back, it's kind of like in the maybe 10% or something like that.
Yeah, we definitely
be a bit higher.
But there is regular customers buying when they got spare cash, because obviously they don't want to keep cash in the bank because it's losing money, right? Because cost of goods. So, but lately, more newer people coming to the market, but there is the regular person that buys on a regular scale.
Yeah.
Just lately, there seems to be maybe a bit more female orientated as well. Actually, got money in the bank. They may have missed the housing market, the run, and they want to put their cash somewhere where it's got a good chance of increasing, and maybe in the next cycle they can get onto the property market.
Got you. Okay. I mean, it would be good, definitely look at that. Where are those repeat people? Because it might be that they've tipped their, or your customers have dipped their toe in, and with this education and so forth, they're actually going to get more involved and set up, okay, well, each quarter I'm going to put away X percentage of my cash into that. And if you can educate them kind of around that as well, that's kind of key. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll come back around when we get to like the customer problems and so forth. Chris, I'm going to come over to, actually, Glenn, do you have a promotion plan underway for the education side?
No, we probably don't yet. We're with Michelle, or we covered quite a lot with Michelle, but that was literally just like the night before last. So we kind of haven't had the chance to actually go and fulfill the many things we talked about.
Okay.
So we don't have we don't specifically have that. We're probably looking at like avatars and like separating out what our kind of offerings are, our pathway for people to follow through that sort of thing. So
okay. All right. Look, I'll get Rosaline and Michelle have given me a couple of decks, and to me I'm like splitting hairs to see the difference, so I'll just get Rosaline to send you over the latest one that they're using in the partnership side, so that you can start entering in that info, because that's what we want to go through then, on these calls as well, because that will be where your plan and where your measurements on, your milestones and your targets and what's happening, and we can kind of drill into that. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Chris, over to you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Chris, and I am, sorry, I'm just going to bring up some things. So my niche is team performance and productivity. I'm in the coaching business. My background myself, I've been in the Defence Force, in the Air Force here in Australia for 18 years, in a variety of roles, in leadership roles, team roles, and that type of thing. So, what I'd love to be able to do, or what I am doing, is wrapping that up, bringing my experience through coaching to people. So who I work with as well is small business, and where I'm at really is starting up. So in my business, I'm startup, and really over the last few months, I've been really trying to just get clarity on my messaging and what my business is, and what direction I want to take it. Let me see, I think who I'm working with, so small business owners. I've just in the last week, decided, because of my background, I actually want to narrow that down. Instead of just saying small business owners, I want to actually narrow that down to veterans. So small business owners who are veterans as well, and that's I just feel like I click more with them, of course.
Nice.
And I have the background, and I feel like I can give back to that community as well.
I love that. And the more you get narrow into a niche, the better. I mean, the thing is, do we have those people on Genius U? I'm assuming you would have some. How many? I don't know. But you still need to be doing your activities and that outside of Genius U, right? And Genius U could be a platform that you essentially are creating a home for them and they can come to, and you can build that community. And obviously, as we build out our metaverse and the campuses, I'm not sure exactly yet what that looks like and the tech requirements to do that. We're still learning that ourselves. But there can be a place for people to connect in that space. Okay, so have you got any clients right now?
No.
Okay. Have you worked with clients in the past in small business?
I did a couple of pro bono, just to get into it, but not with my new, not with the new focus that I've just come up with in the last couple of weeks. So no.
So with the old focus, what did you have clients or?
Just also pro bono. So I've taken a couple of people just through a 6-week package that I put together. It wasn't specifically around helping them in small business, although they were in business. It was, I guess, more of more generic with regard to life coaching, but I did coach a little bit on the business side, but they were really startups. I think with this and who I want to work with is already established small businesses. So in the scale up, particularly with my niche around team performance, that would already require a business to be, somewhat established with a small team that want to actually grow.
Mm-hmm. And what's your business name?
Well, I've actually just changed it as well. It is Accelerate Talent is the new name.
Okay. And are you also are you trading as that, or is that a product name and you're trading as your personal brand? Like, what will the public see? Will the public see Chris Francis and has a Accelerate Talent program and product, or will they see Accelerate Talent is the business?
I'm thinking Accelerate Talent will be the business name, so I'll be trading as that. And the program within that, so the product it'll most likely be called something different, but along the same lines.
Okay, all right. My thoughts would be it's fine to have that as a business name, but regardless of what you have as a business name, the number one brand that is going to need to have the real essence behind it for the first 2 years is going to be your personal brand. Mm. So, what's your story? What makes you unique so that, and you really draw in this experience with in the Defence Force, because that's why people are going to go, oh yeah, we want him rather than this person here, right? And so if you're niching into, so now what you're saying is you're niching into small business owners that are veterans but are at a scale-up stage. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So do you have examples of who some of those businesses would be?
Well, I know where I can find them. I don't have a business name off the top of my head, but I've just been able to. I was doing during the week. There are some veteran business communities, and that I've just found online, and I'd like to actually get to join those communities because I know that's their purpose, right, is to bring those people together who are the people that I want to work with. Yeah, but there are, for example, there's one with a list of 200 small businesses that are owned by veterans.
Are those businesses scale-ups or startups?
Yeah, I would have to look closer at that. But I know some of the companies have been around for several years, so between 5 to 10 years. So because I know some of them have big contracts. So so I would suggest you do a bit more market research, right? And just for me, the jury's out on whether it's scale-ups or
startups. And the reason I say that is, even though Accelerate Talent, and this is just my question for you, because you're essentially solving a business problem, right? And if we think of, as coaches, when you're working with people, there's essentially 3 types of problems that you're solving, can solve. If I start at the very top, and some of you may have heard this before, the top kind of problem is like societal problems. So this is problems with the world, climate change, the wealth gaps, things that, traditionally governments needed to get behind. But now we obviously see entrepreneurs and private businesses, making the difference in there. That is not the place for any of us to start with. It's too high and it's too big. Now, it doesn't mean you're not contributing into a part of that. So, definitely David and Glenn, you are there around the whole wealth, movement and closing that gap of the wealth gap that's there, but you're not going and solving it on a mass global societal level. You're doing it more on an individual level for someone. So you're essentially solving the third type, which is a personal problem for somebody. The middle type is the business problem, right? So solving a business problem, and this is where team stuff fits in as well. And it could be, how businesses grow. We definitely are solving business problems, but even then, we're still focusing on the individual. So we do focus on actually solving the individual's problem. Now, that individual might be the CEO of a $100 million company. That individual might be the founder of a $1 million company, like the range in there, but we're ultimately solving a personal problem. How does that founder, CEO, business owner make better decisions? How do they perform better? How do they lead better? And so I would still be looking at, for you, how do you solve the problem of the individual? Individual first, then it's easier to get into solving business problems. Once you've got that trust with the individual, so particularly if you're going to niche into the SME space, of where veterans are the owners or maybe the leaders, right? Because they might not own the company, but they might be leading up a division that has a team in there. And they could be like your key person that's going to go, wow, I know the mindset of it, and I know the philosophy and the principles that this guy will bring to the table. And if you're speaking that in all of your messaging and your materials, they could be the one who makes the decision. So like for me, I'm not a veteran in it, but I don't need to get permission to do external team training or something, but I'm not the CEO of EI, right? Now, at times when, we went through the initial part of the crisis, I did have to, because we just put a stop on all spend. So everything had to get checked. But now we're kind of back to, we can make our own decisions on what we need to do to run our P&Ls, right? So again, just come back to solving that individual's problem. And it could be them first, is it, or how is it for the individual? It could even be individuals within a team first, and then you go into a team focus. I'm not saying that's definitely the way, but I just want you to think about those things while you're in this kind of hashing it out, malleable state.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Does that help?
It does help. Yeah. And that's, I guess, I was partly already thinking about some of those things, and it's great for you to provide all of that to put into context for me as well, because that makes a lot more sense. I was thinking about, should I just target the owners, or could it be potential business leaders within the organisation? I wasn't sure.
So they need to be the decision makers, right?
It's good you brought that up.
So they need to be the ones that have the ability to say yes. And so normally that is in your C-suite. And and others might still find you if they're looking for a solution, and they might bring that to their leader. But ultimately, you'd be talking to people. Always aspire to be a level above where they are, right? So you're still going to get them in your messaging, and they might take it to their leader. That sounds really weird. But you know what I mean.
Leader, yeah.
Any comments or questions from others for Chris that might help him?
I will say it's an interesting space. I'm also in that same space. I was thinking, as particularly for U.S. veterans, how best to reach the community, like joining other groups, and then not seeming to poach from that group is what's always sort of the sticky part about joining someone else's community. So I would just say, I think going in as you join, just offering advice or sort of being seen as a go-to reference point where people are always looking and say, oh, I wonder what Chris thinks about that. Or, because you're engaged and frequently, giving good tips or whatever, I think people would then be drawn to sort of look you up and want to hear more from you offline, and that may be a way to sort of grow your client base.
Very good.
It's a great point. Yeah,
definitely. Yes, communities, it's like dating. You don't go on a first date and say, will you marry me? You've got to court, and you've got to highlight the good things about them and not about yourself. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chris.
You?
Simonia, let's come over to you. Good to see you again. I saw you on the call with Seth. That was pretty amazing for you, right?
That was very amazing. Loved it. So it's so interesting. I was thinking about how I'm supposed to introduce myself, and it's, buckle up. I don't know. My niche is leadership, right? So I spent 25 years in the U.S. military, and so that's my coaching business. My consulting business is really what I do as well. The challenge I'm having with holding space for that in the community is it's really kind of a broad topic, right? When you start thinking about, well, are we talking about personal leadership? Are we talking about leadership of people who are leading other people? A lot of people say leadership, but they want management tips. And then so I'll be honest, I've spent the bulk of this time thinking about, who is my avatar? Is it a person? Is it a group of people? Is it the Genius U community and the people that are in community with us now who have questions about how they can approach leadership topics based on their profile types? Like, I have no idea. So I have been spinning a lot, I would say, because of that. I'm not really sure which. I think all of them could be useful. I just don't know which is the best.
Okay. And it's like exciting and disturbing at the same time, isn't it? Because it's like exciting to explore all the possibilities, but at some point we know we have to make a decision and get moving on it. So Simonia,
can I say one more thing, and let me answer this? The other thing that I found really interesting, I'm not sure if it's worth exploring, but because it could be a huge time suck, right? I am curious about how to start offering coaching, and it might be leadership coaching in the metaverse. Like, what would it look like to hang out or put up a sign and offer that to people in that space to grow the community?
Okay. So how long have you been coaching?
So professionally,
outside of the military, yeah.
Outside of the military, 5 years.
Okay.
Yes.
And has it been leadership coaching for, the broad definition?
Yes, if I would define it as personal leadership, right? So most of my work has been with individuals.
Yeah.
They're choosing to grow sort of personal development, so personal leadership.
And so
Mhm.
Are you feeling like that's still the area that you love? You just want to leverage it better and package it up better? Or are you getting insights to it's time to go and swim in a different ocean?
It's time to swim bigger. It's, one starfish at a time is great. It matters to that one starfish, but it's one starfish at a time. And so I have run out of capacity.
Okay. And so those that you were helping with more of the personal development side, were they like random individuals kind of more into self-help, or was it in business or in specific fields?
Mostly, for me, it was mostly females in male-dominated industry, military, women, people in law enforcement, that sort of thing.
And this is what, Seth picked up with you straight away. And I don't even know if you said to him that you did that, or whether he picked
Yeah, I don't
up
remember
just
either.
from behind, because I remember hearing him and I went, how did Simonia say that? Or did he just like
Yeah, I don't.
pick that up because there was something behind her in one of those,
Yeah.
your cap or something? But I mean, I can't remember his exact words, but maybe go back and watch the recording for you as well. And anyone who didn't get to see the Seth workshop, definitely go and watch it. It was amazing. He was he talking about Black women in male dominated space? Like, is that how far you want to drill the niche down? Yeah.
Well, I was even smaller than that, because when you say Black women in male dominated industries, to be honest, like, even though it's 50-50 population in a lot of spaces, it quickly drills down. If you think about tech, if you think about military, if you think about law enforcement, even if you talk about corporate CEO types, the numbers start to school administrators. Like, anytime you go up the ranks, you automatically find yourself in that kind of territory. I am drawn more to military, law enforcement, even tech spaces, because of the energy engineering type spaces. Because that's what I know.
I love it. So it's like, I just spent before I got sick. This is why I got sick, for those who are on my other Crystal Circle calls. My very first event in 2 years, I went to Tasmania here, and it was a Business Chicks event. So I thought it was going to be 30 or 40 women getting together for 3 days and kind of great speakers and workshopping stuff. It turned out being 140 women. So,
oh, wow.
My social awkwardness had to dissipate after 2 years of being in my four walls. But it was amazing. The most spine tingling kind of thing. I've never been somebody who's just gone to women's events or really been in that space. I've gone to those events because I've loved the speakers that they've brought in and so forth. But I don't know whether it's my stage of life or whatever it might be, but I'm like so up for it. And the whole essence of that conference was, we've got you. So it was like all the speakers were advocates for women to be their absolute best. And it's not at the discarding of men. It's just, there is stuff that, is unique to women. And how can we, even things like your menopausal stage and stuff like that was a topic at one point, because it does make you crazy and nutty. And that doesn't mean that men don't have their challenges through things, but it's like that space where women can come together, and you are like the Lady Gaga to Lisa Minnelli, on that whole thing where,
beautiful. So lovely.
It was like, I got you. That was the whole like essence of that Business Chicks weekend. And it has made me go, I looked at their calendar and I went, I'm going to every damn event and I'm bringing people, because I just felt amazing, other than catching COVID, by going there. And I have a great community with EI. I have my own community outside of that as well. But this was just that something extra. And there was people there from city councils with teams of 2,000 people, big companies, with thousands of employees, startups. It was such a, I would say the startups were probably more getting inspired and listening,
Right.
probably less, and such a beautiful space to do that, probably less likely to join a program or take up the services. But those at that next level or the higher end of scale up where the cash flow is actually coming in, definitely, more resources there to invest in themselves.
And I think it is a weird space because a lot of the one-on-one coaching I have done has been toward the lower, more junior level, right? Because I don't want them to experience a lot of loss or a lot of hurt, right, coming into these communities. But what I have done, although I haven't finished it, I wrote a book for them. And then it's my hope that because they can't afford the coaching, they can't afford the program, but I can give them this book with advice and tips and things that they can have handy so that I can move to focus on the higher tier groups.
Yeah.
But where I was torn was I was targeting mostly women, but reality is the more men I also coached or had access to who were in charge of the women could lend a better experience. And so, like I said, it's all
Gotcha.
over the place, right?
So let me show you a site. Maybe you've already seen this. There's two things. It's actually in Czech, so it's just translating at the moment. But obviously in the decision, I mean, you want to go where your heart feels the most joy, that you want to play in that space, but also making sure it's a defined niche or avatar space that you can go into. Don't underestimate this very simple criteria. When all else fails, this is what I fall back on. If I'm in confusion state, when you're in startup, where can I make the most amount of cash in the shortest amount of time? And the reason I say that is because where you've been for the last 5 years is not where you want to go for the next 15, right?
Right.
But that can be the same for the next 5 years as well. Sometimes it's about choose that narrower kind of niche, get started, prove that, and then replicate that out into other areas or other industries. And because trying to be too broad is too hard.
I think this goes back to even the question you brought up to Chris, and maybe this is the thing that I don't really understand how to do is the market research. It's like, okay, I know it's a valuable, tool. I know that's the way to go, but how do, where does one go to get it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me just show you something else before we go on to that. I'm just going to show the site as it is. It's doing something very weird. Maybe I need to accept cookies. Have you heard of, maybe through the partnerships team, they might have shared it, Radka with her company Ataru in the Czech Republic?
No.
Okay. So it's being very weird about not loading, but Ataru, Radka basically was a trainer for McKinsey.
Okay.
And then she went out onto her own, and she essentially built this business around the talent dynamics frameworks. So
Which is how I started with Genius U, which was my plan, was to do the same thing. So got it. Yep.
So she basically was like offering bespoke programs to individuals and companies around, the neuroscience and talent dynamics and so forth. And it was great. She got to kind of, the $500,000 mark with a lot of sweat, effort and work. And then in order to scale, in order to go that next level and break that kind of $1 million mark, the key is productization, right? So now you might not be at that scalable level yet, but you can see the building blocks to do it. And also she had the reputation, which I think you have as well. Like, I'm thinking there's probably a bunch of people that actually do really know you and respect you. I'm sorry, I don't know why this is doing this, but if I come up here, she has leadership programs, like authentic leadership for women, authentic leadership for men, you know, authentic leadership for top female managers, disruptive leadership inside out. Now, she started with women, but then she brought on men, and she's got men on her team as well who actually do the training. Jan Polak, who you probably met through the PC training, you know, he has worked on Radka's team for a long time. I think Jan is actually the person that introduced Radka to our community in the first place. But what she's done here is she's leveraged it, right? So rather than the one-to-one, it's group. So there's 15 people in a group. It goes for 9 months. Funny that. It's for middle management. Next intake, you can see 23rd of May. I'm not 100% sure on the pricing these days, but I think it used to be about 11,000 euros, maybe it's or 9,000 euros. And you can see through here, get a greater understanding of yourself and others. She basically has the steps of, know yourself, lead others, and lead a team.
Yep. Love it.
And she has created now multi-million-dollar business in this, and now has the resources of people, of time, and of money to be exploring other things. She's now creating like a TV channel. You know, she's now getting into partnerships with other key, you know, like universities and big accounting firms that bring a whole bunch of, you know, we're going to prove this out. We're going to do like the data on it, which she couldn't do on her own, right? Not without, but because she's got traction in this space and she gets the PR and all of that around it. But you can see here, we help you find your strengths, your natural style of cooperation and communication. We show you how to solve and manage challenging situations. It's not management, it's personal leadership, right? Understanding yourself, understanding others. We use personality diagnostics, talent dynamics. Here's what you're going to learn: talent and leadership mindset, limiting behavior patterns, it's neuroscience stuff. I've seen the inside of Radka's stuff and it's great, but it's simple. Working with an amygdala mission. Now, she's just got that as workshop 3. I mean, I have an entire business around that, but it's enough. She's got it as workshop 3 because she's bringing in the other things. So, something like this, I think, is key. Now, you could start with, well, hey, if this is like 15 people, could you put a program together that you had 10 people and you could go to them and say, look, my goal is to work with, maybe it's 10 women to begin with. What she did was got one kind of top person that she wanted, that she knew in, and then she went to other companies and basically was saying they're only taking one from each company. So you won't find like 3 from Google in here and 5 from somewhere else. It's 1 from each company. So it's a cross-company program. Food for thought. This is definitely a green level business, but you can just see how she's brought leadership together. And I think if we say leadership for men, it will probably look very, very similar. It's 10 months, okay? It's for middle management. I don't know why it's 10 months. Maybe, we'll hold off on the men joke because men jokes. Your
Yeah, I
past
was gonna say maybe it's 9 months because of the female gestation period. Like maybe
maybe.
has nothing to do with them needing more time.
I
Yeah.
know. I was just teasing.
No, I'm joking.
So you can see here, it's basically a similar thing, right? And you'll be able to have a look at. There's a brochure there.
Oh, but that's interesting because I do have a group that I'm a member of, like, and it's all military in there. It would be interesting to say I'm running a pilot program and I want to do a women's version and a male version, and I want 2 from each service, and these are the qualifications.
And have a guest mentor that's male come in and co-facilitate that with you maybe. And
for both or just the male one?
Maybe for the male one. I think in the future it doesn't really need to be specific. But I think my thoughts, and it's probably more intuitive, is for the male one, have a guest mentor in there with you that brings their insight just to diffuse any even unconscious, but it's different for me because, the more that there's that's there, and I know we're all in, gender neutrality and so forth, but there's still primal programs that come up that if someone is wanting to run excuses, they will find a little corner of their brain where that narrative can come out. Anyway, to me, that's the big picture for you. Obviously, we've got to distill it down, but it depends on the size of your community, and who you already know. You could say, look, I'm going to, that's a 10-month program. You can,
I want to start smaller. So
so you'd break it down, right? But you can see where we're going kind of with the messaging and the leadership component of it. Is that helpful, Simonia?
Very
good. Awesome. Any comments for Simonia from others on the call? Hi, Sharon. No. So the key again for you is solve the personal problem, Simonia. Yeah. Solve the personal problem, even though you're talking to people in business.
I just had one thought that just cropped into my head before, and I forgot to write it down. And it relates back to something to some of the Genius U stuff where Roger talks about your audience, your community, and how giving away your gold dust, etc., and then how your customers might not necessarily be the people that are in your community. So it just kind of cropped up. I don't know whether Simonia already does that or not, but she talked about giving away. You talked about giving away your book, and then maybe there's something you can do with that. That though you're giving away your book to the lower, I think you call them the lower level type people needing leadership. But then they likely know the people that are above them. So maybe you can tie something in with your book whereby, and not so in a roundabout kind of way, you can ask them who else they know. So who do they know that's above them that might need a similar level of help?
It definitely taps into the part of the customer promise plan. You're bang on. For us, when we talk about the Genius test, it's the bigger purpose is, once you know your genius, go out and tell your friends so they can find their genius too, because the whole thing is together we're better, right? And let's all grow. I think the other key thing there is, and this is for everybody, because when you're looking at your pathway, number one, I would never have an avatar that can't pay me money until you are making enough money that you can do that. So even Roger, when I started with him 10 years ago as a client in Crystal Circle, there was no free Genius U stuff, right? There was none of that. It was go to an event, pay a ticket for the event, buy the talent dynamics test or wealth dynamics test, or maybe, get it for free because you bought a ticket to the event. And then there was join Crystal Circle or join Wealth Dynamics Masters or join an iLab program that was over in Bali. That was it. There was nothing else for free. Genius U got built because he had the resources, he had the money and the people and the time to start building that out. And it was a part of the vision on how he wanted to create that marketplace for entrepreneurs in the future. But it didn't start there. You know, Genius U only came about a few years after that. So I would never look at marketing to an audience that can't afford you. Instead, position that free stuff in the early part of your value cycle and to your ideal avatar. We always know, no matter how well you have the intention and how well you define your avatar, there's going to be people that fall in from buckets on either side, right? That will just happen naturally. Because again, people are aspiring to get somewhere. Yeah. And so rather than saying, I'm going to meet you here, no, we're going to invite you to come up here. So you have that free stuff in the beginning part of your value cycle. Now you can pull it apart. You can offer parts of it. You can offer the whole thing. Someone who does it really well, he's a dear friend of mine. Tucky Moore, he actually is like a marketing coach for coaches. His site, oh, here you go, he redirects to $1 Million Coach. I haven't looked at his coach for ages. But he has, okay, he's always got something. There's always a freebie something on his site. But he's basically, how do you attract, convert, and deliver, right? That's his 3 things. And here you can like get the book, and I think he gives it away for free. These are his programs. He only has 2 programs, Black Belt, which is a year-long a continual thing. You have to already be doing over 10,000 a month as a coach for that, and Boardroom, which are those that are already doing $1 million and up. So I was in his program ages ago. Him and his wife became friends. So I love his community. It's great. But he gives his book away. I think if I click on the book, yeah, I want the book. So he gives a digital copy away, but I think he might give a physical copy. No, he just gives it must be a PDF or a digital copy that he's giving away. But again, it's to his avatar, right? And it's just cleverly named like $1 Million Coach, people who want to be $1 Million Coach there. So definitely, if you've already got a book, absolutely amazing to use in your whole value cycle, but there needs to be a funnel behind it. And the key is there's a business behind the book. No one ever gets rich just from books unless you do write Harry Potter or something. And so it's always the business behind the book. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Simonia. Hopefully that has helped. I'd love to.
It does. Thank you.
See, let's get to a decision. Make a decision about when you want to make a decision on who your niche is going to be, and it will force up a lot of stuff to kind of, to lay it out and to analyze it. And at some degree, you're still guessing, right? So I would be choosing one where you've got the most connections, hence why I come back to where can you make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. For me, if I was going to launch a part of my business again, I would probably go to accountants because I'm an accountant by trade, and I know that accountants lack the business development side of things, but they all want their clients to succeed and they want to make more money. The partners want to look good to the other partners by bringing in more revenue to the firm, plus they want more clients to get better results. So I can identify those with the gaps and go, look, this is the program that we can work on together. You know, I'd run it, but I'd bring them in so that it's positioned well to their clients. So, but do I want to work with accountants? Like personally work with accountants? No, I want to work with their clients. Yeah. So, you know, think of, and I could also go into manufacturing. I have a big client in manufacturing who keeps saying, Donna, when can I launch you into the whole manufacturing world? And I'm like, I said, when you will come and do it with me, because I don't want to niche into the manufacturing world. I will niche into that, but you're going to have to be a coach and a mentor in it with me too. And so, but it's because there's a system and there's a methodology that gets particular results that people, you know, I can break it into niches. Does that make sense? So like Radka could niche into industry. At the moment, she tends to be niched more about the size of the company, but they do tend to be quite innovative, fast growth, often in the tech space as well. Like she's got Google and, you know, IBM and lots of different things there. Okay, all right. You can see I can talk all day about this. Jenny, let's come over to you.
I just had to unmute myself.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear who you are, your niche, your avatar, and where you're at in business.
Okay, great. So yes, my name is Jenny Xu, and I have several kind of areas, but I'll kind of condense what I'm doing right now. So my background is as a lifestyle medicine physician and a health and wellness coach, and I have a background in fitness as well. I have also additional kind of experience as a neurolinguistic programming master practitioner, and I do hypnotherapy. What I'm doing right now is that I launched my business Wellness Visions last summer. I was doing primary care internal medicine for decades, and I kind of left a very traditional healthcare clinic setting to go out on my own. And so I worked for a large clinic, and so that's been a big step forward for me, since I don't really have as much business background as probably many others here. And but I do also have a background as not only just a doctor for many years. I have a background as a professor at the University of Illinois, and I taught medical students and residents and other faculty for years. That was kind of my my background, was working with other faculty, helping them to improve their teaching. So that was why, you know, many things. I'd really actually been on a journey of wellness for the last decade, and I saw kind of the need to really help people have a different perspective on health. And as a health and wellness coach, I began to see that we really need to be focused on transforming health from the illness model that we see in Western allopathic medicine into really a wellness base, because really the pain point is that there are a lot of people not feeling well in many areas of their life. And they may have seen doctor after doctor or tried other approaches and really felt like they were bouncing back and forth. And so they're frustrated by not getting a solution to many of their health conditions that they have had either for many years or are beginning to have. Because my avatar tends to be, and I should just also mention, I also own a local Curves Fitness club locally. And so that is kind of under the umbrella of the whole health and wellness spectrum that I have in my business. And so what I do really with my avatar, which I brought up Curves, it's my avatar is mainly women in their 40s to 60s who are kind of in that sandwich generation. They may or may not have children, but they may also have aging parents, and they're kind of caught in the middle. They may be very busy in their work or career, or maybe they could be at home too, but they're starting to have health issues crop up for themselves. And sometimes it's tied in with stress. So that is like the big pain point is stress. You know, they have they're the caregivers, they're busy taking care of everybody else, not themselves, but they're starting to have health issues.
Mhm.
And especially for women, you know, especially if they're going through changing hormones in the menopausal period, they might notice that their metabolism is a little different. They may be putting on a little bit more weight. They may have higher blood pressure, maybe because of the extra weight or stress. And so I really have a very holistic approach in that we really create, first of all, it's directed by the client on what they want to see in their life. And so that's really what drives it. They want to see something different, but I also am really having them think about, well, what is the life and the health that they want to create for themselves?
Get it. So
And
Jenny, question for you, sorry to jump over you. So I'm just looking at your services, and at the moment it's like a mixture of individual sessions, group sessions, and different like nutrition, weight management services and fitness programs. So the latter two more so through Curves maybe, and the prior two through you. So what what are you wanting to do with this part of the business? Like, what's the size of it now? What revenue do you make from this coaching, and where do you want to get to in the next 12 months?
Okay. So in terms of, and I understand your question. I guess sometimes I'm a little unsure because I have it kind of, there's my coaching client, my private coaching clientele, which I can share kind of the data, but I also have my Curves Club. And so that's a different branch. So
the Curves Club is not, so I'm just looking at the piece of like the coaching, right? Not the Curve side. I think it's great that you have Curves, like such an opportunity. A bit like Joe Formosa has Back to Health Clinic. Yes, it's not the fitness training, but so when she has Health Dynamics, you know, a lot of those clients actually came from the Back to Health Clinic. So just in the coaching side, and I mean, you don't have to tell me exact, but like, you know, what's the range that you're in and where do you want to get to? I'm just trying to look at the right model for you.
Right, exactly. So I have, you know, I just got started last summer, so I have had about 10 clients to date, and they vary. My high-end packages are like 10,000 for about 3 months of work.
Okay.
So that's what I also have done, let's say individual sessions for maybe 250.
So did you only just leave the other group that you were a part of in terms
of last summer?
So you're like you're in the new stages of this. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes, I am in the new stages. And honestly, a lot of time was spent in kind of doing training, because some of the work I did for NLP was in the past year. So some of it has been carved out for a lot of training, completing my NLP training, as well as getting started with Genius U. So I have done some of the things like Wealth Dynamics last October. And, you know, I was part of just different programs within Genius U in the last few months. But, you know, I am steadily getting some clients. And in terms of the group coaching, I'm actually about to launch that. So I haven't yet done that, but I have training to do group coaching work. And so as part of my free, we were talking about the free giveaways, I've been doing free monthly webinars in the past few months. So I had a series where I was focused about heart health, and the predominant draw is lifestyle changes, because my whole thing is I'm empowering people to heal through lifestyle changes they can make, from foods they eat to how they move, and a key thing is how they manage stress. That
Got
is
you.
underlying a big problem for many health conditions.
Okay. Got you. So it sounds like your niche is clear, your avatar is clear. I think I'd like to see what your product suite is that's outside of those two things. Like, often it is have one avatar, one program, one pathway, right? And so when I say one program, it doesn't mean you can't have the earlier stages of smaller bite-sized offerings, but this is the same for like Simonia, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Have one core avatar, one core program, and then everything else is the marketing funnel to get them into that. Now, if you have zero form of reputation, it's always value first. The easiest way to get value is through one-to-one stuff. So, Chris, when we're talking to you, it's like I wouldn't necessarily launch into a group program. I would do the one-to-one side, get that proof of concept, get that value exchange, then move up into more leverage side of things. But you can make all the cash that you need by just getting clear on your avatars and getting some good sales in and be making good cash. But Jenny, for you, I think even though the business is new, you're not new, right? And you're not new even to this avatar, I wouldn't imagine. So I think you can fast track that a bit more. Yes, you'll do some one-to-ones. That would be a part of the funnel, but the group program, great. I mean, Joe Formosa also does something like her 28-day detox.
Yes.
Have you done that, or have you seen it?
I've done that. Yes, I've done that.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with how it's run.
And it now is interesting. It's a program that others are wanting to partner with. So we have people in our community that are like, oh my gosh, I've done this. This is amazing. I want to tell my community about it. She recently had someone, I think, who put 50 people through. Maybe you were part of that group, I'm not sure. But by having it's not her core program. Yeah, her core program is the next one after that, but it's a brilliant program still at around 1,500 or so that has in the value cycle, people have a great experience and then can come and do more. Excuse me. So Jenny,
I was going to let you take some water and tell you. So I just finished the 28-day program because I am your client, Lord have mercy. And I know Joe was interested in expanding into the U.S. market. I will say there are some, I don't know, maybe nuances. It could be worthwhile. I could certainly see both sides where you could partner up, but you have your own unique voice in your own unique way. And so if that's the thing that you want to promote, then it does make sense to sort of go it alone. But there's no reason you can't have similar things, whether the 28-day journey was hard for me to find the right time. And so maybe I have another friend who was in the military. She does this 7-day fruit and veggie challenge, or this 7-day move your body thing, to go with your curves. You know what I mean? I think there's just other shorter programs because we got short attention spans. We're sandwiched. 28 days was a big commitment, right? Or even if you could have found a way, I would have been more successful if someone had taught me how to do it in a mobile way, or if somebody had taught me how to prepare the food ahead of time, or whatever
I hired a chef.
You know what I mean? It would have made it a better, easier experience. So maybe having gone through it, figure out what you could tweak or how you tweaked it to make it work for you, and then offer that to this community.
Yeah, it's also, that's a little way down on the, it is a product. It's not there's the marketing stuff that comes before it as well. But the fact you've got curves there as your like a lead source basically is amazing as well. This is something also, this is really for everyone. So I know it's like plant-based food is the niche, but you know, there's lots of challenges out there. Jo does challenges, like she does boot camps. They're all free. This is what a girlfriend of mine, Chef Cynthia, does. So she does a 21-day cleanse. Now, she's getting about 1,000 people a month into the 21-day cleanse. Now, it is paid for. I think it's like $100, but $67 US. It will make me hungry if I watch that. But she does this 21-day cleanse as a part of her experience. She has a very different model. She's very digital courses and ebooks and books. So she's high volume, low ticket price. It is a very different model than having a higher end coaching and that. So she's putting like, you know, she might be paying $10,000 or $15,000 in advertising a month, but getting, well, I don't think she's paying that much actually. That was including the consultancy she had for a while, but I'd have to check. But yeah, she's getting about 1,000 people a month through this, but very digital, again, digital marketing. But you can still do things like this for free for people to come and get a taste, you know, whether it's that 7-day thing you're saying, Simonia, or 14-day. I think she actually has a 14-day something. 14-day, here we go, plant-driven transformation challenge. So she's still got it with a ticket price, but if it was in the early marketing stages of a wellness business like for you, I would do it for free. Yeah, but again, maybe reduce it to 5 days or 7 days or something. Okay. So Jenny, I would love to see, I tried to access your GAP plan, but I need access. I'm not sure why I can't. That might be with Michelle's. But I'd love to see your pathway, you know, next time as well. What's the marketing path there? Cool. So Sharon, let's come over to you. Love to hear who you are and what you're focusing on.
Okay. I'm a longtime nurse, entrepreneur, and I'm showing other nurses how to grow thriving businesses. And I'm finding that most of my clients are in the niche of coaches, consultants, and educators. So down the road, I might make that my niche, but right now I'm just aware of it, that tends to be the type of nurse entrepreneur that I'm attracting. And it's not a surprise because that's the type of entrepreneur I've been myself quite a bit. So I have a couple, do I need to give any more background or can we just jump over to my questions?
Well, have you got clients at the moment?
I have a few clients. Yeah.
And so what's the main, what's the main problem that you solve for them?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, more detail about my avatar. I have one that is just beginning. She's quit her full-time job. She had a savings saved up to do that. And so she's starting from scratch, deciding who her audience is and what problems she's solving. So she's really at the beginning, but she's paying me pretty well, I think, for that, for helping her. And then I have another client who is working part-time and building her business part-time. And she's a coach, nurse coach. And they're both, one is a woman in her early 40s, probably. The other one is in her late 50s. And that's kind of the bookends of my age range. And my avatar tends to live in a city, but really love nature, be very holistic, very person-centered, has strong nursing ethics and values about putting people first, has a lot of concern about her legal liability in terms of how to practice as an entrepreneur and not jeopardize her nursing license. In a lot of states in the US, it's built into the Nurse Practice Act that nurses, kind of some constraints about nurses they can't recommend products that they profit from, and a lot of things like that. So that's one of my little niches, is that since I'm a nurse and I've been through figuring that out, I can help the nurse entrepreneurs
Got you.
sleep at night with that part.
Okay, cool. Got it. So, yes, let's come over to your questions. And what I'd just ask, because I want to come back to everybody's questions, I have read them as well. We're probably going to go 10 minutes over. Is that okay with everyone? So we'd finish in like 15 minutes from now.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, Sharon, your question. The first question you've got here is, well, I see you've got a comment. Are you working with Suraj on AI Lead Magnet, or is that something that you want to do?
I am working with him.
Okay. So how many customers do you have right now?
Very few, because my business is really just getting launched.
Mm-hmm. So is he put together a promo plan or a,
Yeah, I have a promo plan and my customer journey mapped out on my promo plan.
mhm.
And I made a quiz. We're going to do the quiz through the Facebook Messenger kind of model.
Awesome.
Yeah. And this weekend, actually, I'm writing my opt-in gift, but I already have it kind of outlined. And I've been testing it with some people, privately. So some nurses. So I'm hoping to get that going here really soon to start a good lead magnet and funnel.
Okay.
My list right now is about 155, I think, nurses.
Mhm.
And I get my open rate is about 65% when I send out my weekly email. So I
And
think
did
I'm
you
getting some good
decide-
attention.
Did you decide like going down the digital marketing path was what you wanted to do more so than, do you have other people that have your clients that you can jump into their communities?
Yeah, so I am a mechanic. I'm very introverted. I love to do the systems end, but I do not love to make personal connections or follow up or any of that. And
Just click the button, people.
What?
Just click the button, people.
Yeah, right. It'll all happen for you. No, I've just hired another nurse who's a star, and she's been my student actually Yay Stars, Simonia. And she's been in business for quite a number of years. And so she's going to do some sales for me on commission. So I think that she and I are a pretty good team.
Okay, nice. I love this, right? Like, your strength. I mean, obviously, either strategy, whether you choose a multiply strategy, which is what this is through the digital marketing side, or whether you choose a magnify strategy, both require resources of either time or money or both, right? Mm-hmm. So, digital marketing side definitely is like straight up the resources of either someone else doing it for you or you getting, the time to do it, and then the ad spend. On the magnify side, you've got to spend the time, you've got to nurture those relationships, you've got to show up and offer stuff, for free into communities, give value, write stuff that's specific for people. Both require effort and resources to do. Okay, love it. Got it. I've just had a quick scroll through your promo plan as well. I'll have more of a full look before our next call. So coming back to your question, very interesting one to be asking at this stage. How can I best build my company to sell it in 5 to 7 years?
Yeah, well, I know it's kind of an odd question to ask so early, but I've had a series of companies, and this is my last one. I'm 60, I'll soon be 69. And so I want to this is my legacy thing. I want to put together a good system, get a good reputation going, and sell it.
Nice.
So that's,
So have you sold, have you built and sold other companies in the past?
I have. Yeah, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have a
What type of
mentor. I
companies
just
and
muddled my way
industries-
through. What?
What type of companies and industries were they in?
I was an early adopter of online digital education. I had a continuing education company for nationally certified massage therapists and body workers and nurses. Started that in it was through the 90s, and I sold it in 2010.
Mhm.
And, that was back when we had to code everything by hand. There was nothing was plug and play. So it was, yeah, but it went well. My main competitor bought me out, and I had it on the kind of the open market for a little while. And then that was the person that stepped forward that had the cash and bought me out.
Got you. Nice.
That was it.
Okay, so you're not a rookie at this.
No.
Love it. I love this question as well, because I personally do not start any business without knowing what my 5-year, if I was going to sell it, what does that look like? Either sell it 100% or sell a part of it as a way to get some capital back to me for the ROI, outside of the profits that I'd take, or to go, okay, what's the expansion, bring, sell a part of it to bring capital in to actually expand even further. So I always start with the 5 to 7 year plan as well. And in that, like, to me, there's criteria, right? It's got to be a certain revenue, a certain profit, a certain, the solidness of the operations, but more so that consistency of business coming in.
I know those concepts, but I want more detail on, on how to actually, what I should be doing now and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now it's probably looking at, solving the biggest problem in that market space, because you want to get to 5 years is a long time, but it's not a long time as well, right? So actually what is the biggest problem that this area has? Nurses that are wanting to have their own business, maybe even go into it full time, where it's not just part time.
Yeah. My avatar wants to go full time for sure.
Okay, so they want to go full time. Like, what is the biggest problem? Is it essentially that they need a one-stop shop? Like, do they need the personal development stuff, the business in a box, the paint by numbers kind of system that you'll have, and but also what is different? Like, is there anyone in this space doing this?
Yeah, there are several people doing it in the US.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's been doing it for the longest time has been maybe close to 10 years. And she has about 10,000 nurses on her list. And she has a lot of different business in a box that they can go do med spas with IV therapy. They can do, start a nursing staffing agency. There's different things like that they can do. That model is not very interesting to me. I would rather really teach nurses how to look at a business opportunity, how to find one based on wealth dynamics, their energies that's really going to work for them, how to build their team. I would really like, the other nurse isn't really giving what I would call solid education. It's more superficial.
Yeah.
And she has admitted privately that her failure rate is really high.
Yeah.
So I would like to be different in that way.
So even though your mechanic profile, community is still key.
Yeah.
Right. And this is for everyone that's on the call. We know community is key. Glenn and David, you might be educating people around the content, but do people want to be a part of a community where others have the same aspirations, the same questions, the same challenges? Like, do they want to hang out together? I'm going to show you this Business Chicks. Now, website, because I'm just, when you were talking, like one of the big things in here is the community, right? Now she has 55,000 members in Australia. Australia is not that big. We only have 24 million people living here as a whole. So 55,000, well, it was 55,000 a couple of years ago. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that now. Membership is $100 a year. So it's a decent just membership that's there. But then she has, now hers is more of a magnify kind of, there's experiences like there's a business club, which is a group coaching mastermind, Movers and Breakers, which is like a 3-day experience. She takes people to Necker Island, and she has a leadership program for like 2 different programs. But then they have all these events, like there's virtual meetups. Here's one like with Gabby Bernstein, an interview, conversation on how to write a best-selling book. They also do things like speakers and so forth. So that part, maybe not so much. It's very a Blazy supporter.
Well,
side.
I can, other nurses can do that for me. I don't have to do those parts.
Yeah.
I'm
And-
not,
and
I'm not
exactly.
limited on limiting my vision on this business to what I can do.
So like for me, when I think of nurses and that, like they're giving out, and this was a big draw card for me to go to the Business Chicks. Like I love what I do, but I give all day long. Whether it's on my team meetings, whether it's on leadership meetings, whether it's mentoring, I'm always giving out. Now, of course, that gives in return because I love what I do and I get to see, the growth in people, but it ends when the call ends, right? And me going to like having a community that I can go to, my cup gets filled up by also people going, what do you need, Donna? Like, where's, who are you? Tell me about you. It's more of a, I'm getting and also giving, just in a different way. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's very important for nurses as
I
well.
think it really is. And Jenny, maybe this is something for you, kind of as you grow, and you also have health coaches that come in as well. So it's not just always you at the end of the day. Simona, it could be you too. Like if there's a place, one of my clients privately, she's CEO of about a 10 million, I think they're 10 million now. Their goal is to get to 20 million in the next 5 years. And I was talking to her because I used to run like a women exclusive program. I said, I'm going to kick it off again, CEO immersion, 10 women for a year. Do you want to be in? Kind of what I was saying to you, Simona. And she's like, absolutely. And so it's like, because they want to belong, it's lonely where they're at, right? So that's the part of community. I do think there's aspects of this model, like Emma could sell this. This is absolutely saleable business. And it's still broad, right? Yours is much, much, much more niched.
Mhm.
But you can see like the problems that you're solving. When I say the biggest problem, is it just the education on it, or is it also the connection part?
It's also the connection because, all entrepreneurs tend to be a little isolated and tend to think differently and talk differently than other people. So finding
Yeah.
that community of other nurse entrepreneurs would be really huge. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the parts of success that this other nurse has had with her business, is she has some not as good a community as this by any means, but some part of that.
Yeah.
She has.
And, when people have had the experience, so when I was in Tasmania and they said, okay, we're doing another Movers and Breakers 3-day event in the Gold Coast. If you want to book your tickets now before we open it to the rest of the members, like here's the link. They 60% sold out and the tickets were $6,000. They sold out Australian dollars. Like right within that, they sold 60%, not sold out, within the hour of releasing it. And so it's because you're there and you're having the experience, right? You get home and you get back to life as normal. And it's like, do I need it? Do I not need it? What else do I want to do with that 6,000? And it's not to blindside people, but you've had such a great time, and it's like, I want to do it again, right? So for me, I was one. I went, you know what? Was there anything new? There probably wasn't. I've done personal development, neuro strat work and that till the cows come home. But it was new because I was on the receiving end, and it was new because I got to sit in my own space. And so it was like no brainer, well worth the investment. So I think that's a key piece for you. It's going to be your business model. That's the key thing. The operation side, I know you get. But let's keep exploring on that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep exploring that. I'm very interested. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
I think I had one more question.
How can I get examples of bridge reports? What's a bridge report?
Somebody else called it that. Maybe it was my past mentor in Michelle Nolting. Like for.
Do you mean the supplementary ones, like someone who's doing, say, wealth dynamics for property investors?
Yes, because I'm wanting to put together a wealth dynamics for nurses.
Nice.
Putting some parts of it together, but it'd be nice to have a model or two to look at.
So I just did a training last Friday, for our level 3s on exactly how to write the reports. So like you guys can have access to that, because even though the initial parts of, the steps that you need to do is get clarity on your niche, your avatars and your problems and so forth, at some point you want to have your niche to report and kind of, move up into level 3. You can definitely have access to that. I'll get Rosaline to send it out to you guys. There's a template link in there. So I set up a whole format and a template and so forth. And we've still yet to get the first person to complete it. So what I'm demonstrating is not a complete one. I was kind of demonstrating my critique of Simon Zucchi's Wealth Dynamics for Property Investors, but it will be helpful. Like, we will do more trainings as we get more people. It was either write one of my own or critique someone else's. So it was easier to critique someone else's. Cool.
Well, if I get one put together partially, you can critique mine in front of everybody.
They're going to have to start cloning me, but yeah, we can definitely we've got resources. So, I mean, we definitely can't do it before the end of June. I'm like fully booked with critiques before then, but get on it, some point this year. Absolutely. All righty. Fabulous. Thanks, Sharon. And good to see you here. Glenn and David, I mean, you've got questions here around have you aimed big enough for your partner avatar and your partner promise? I think we've looked at that before, haven't we? What's the purpose of us?
Yeah, I think I ended up copying in the stuff that I had from the last session, because we went through quite a lot of stuff with Michelle the other night, and I haven't had a chance to actually.
So is that actually something you want to look at or not?
Probably not so much, because I think we kind of covered that, like, with her anyway, really. So
okay. I think I sensed that when I read it. I was like, really? Yeah. A question to me? Okay.
I put that in there, thought I better put something in, but it was more that we were needing to. We've got a list of stuff that we actually need to do after talking to her the night before last. So
okay. So, well, Glenn, what has been your biggest takeaway from today's call? And David?
Yeah, good question. What springs to mind? I mean, probably, I guess it kind of solidified the, like in terms of our avatars, which is what we would kind of need to work on, is looking at those, the scale up and the investor, because that's kind of front of mind for us at the moment, I think, is that we're looking at who our partner avatars are. So who are just a few people that we need that will have a bunch of customers that might be able to be referred to us. And so, yeah, I guess the clarity on who those avatars specifically are, and that one of them is in the scale up and one of them is the investor. And then we just need to get more detail around who those two people specifically are.
Okay, cool. So Glenn, what I think would be great, like Michelle will give me an update. She actually did say she was going to, and she didn't before today. But if you can, let's get you putting your plan onto the document so that this is specifically the education piece that we're wanting to build, right? And let's just make sure we've got that super clear with the product pathway mapped out and the compelling offer in there. I'm going to keep taking all of you through different steps of that as well. So I know that you have like calls with Michelle. She has lots of different calls. Jump on as many as you can. On here, we're going to step you through like the building blocks of it. And as you all start to have your plans brought together, we'll be able to check, get to the point where you've launched parts of it, and we can see what have been the results, what are the numbers telling us, where do we need to drill down into to go, well, why didn't that work? Was it the copy was bad? Was it the ads weren't, we didn't spend enough? Was it we need better training in sales to make the conversions? Like, where is the breakdown in that pipeline? That's the ultimate place we want to get to as soon as possible. So it is like about making some decisions on the stuff that comes prior so that we can just get in and test and measure it and tweak, right? Because until you get out there in the marketplace, you're not going to know for a lot of it. Cool. So let's get the new deck over to you, get you to, take what you've done with Mish and here as well. Cool. David, anything you wanted to add?
No, that's we're on the right pathway for what Glenn's saying. So that's all good. Finding partners and
Cool.
And then the different subcategories within affiliates doing not too much work, and then they receive less commission, and then next stage.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
We'll get it.
Cool. So, Chris, your question here, you've got best way to rebrand with your new business name. Are you rebranding, or are you branding for the first time?
Well, good question. Well, yeah, I think from our chat at the start, I've kind of, I think we've covered that. But I have, the main question was I have things that were already with my old branding. So I had a Facebook group, and I had been talking to people about my old business name, website, and all those things. But really, I think at the moment I just need to focus on really, I think, becoming clear on the problem I'm solving and who I'm actually talking to, because I've just changed that. So
yeah. So, I mean, therefore, can you repurpose your existing Facebook? If it's got your ideal customers in it, yes, of course, do that. Or even if it's got a lot of your ideal customers. If it's like nothing to do with the people that you want to work with, just close it down and start again, right? But if it's got some of those people in there or close to it, I think you're best to keep it. Just once you've decided on your messaging and all of that, then go about changing it. Then, Facebook groups, groups are the main thing, more so than a page, right? Because a group is where you can actually have the engagement, but you still need a strategy inside that group. Because if you just deposit people in there and kind of hope that they're going to go to the next experience when we put it out there, you're not going to be utilizing the group the best. So groups need to be nurtured, and there needs to be a game plan about how you move people from the group to a customer as well. So we'll talk about that, but yeah, that's kind of once you've got clarity on your actual avatar and the problem and your products, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, good. And
Cool.
I think, for me, what the sort of the biggest thing that was coming up just throughout the call today was, I think I was really focusing on what the business problem was, but when you highlighted, really think about what the personal problem is, or what personal problem I'm solving. That's really got me thinking, because I think in the veteran space, it's really, yes, I would like to help them in their business and help their team work more effectively, but really, personally, I think it's the entrepreneurial mindset for us, because we've come from an environment that is completely
well, that's the solution, right? That's not the problem you're solving. So having an entrepreneurial mindset is the solution, but what's the actual problem? Yeah. And this is the hardest thing when you're starting out. It's like, the solution. And so we keep saying, walk it, 1,000 miles in your customer's shoes and use their terminology, but our default is to go solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like with one of the clients that I'm working with at the moment, this CEO of the company, I mean, they've got 50 staff, 10 million turnover. It's a family company. She's the CEO. It's 25 years business. Mum and dad started it. The biggest problems that she has is the overwhelm and how to prioritize most effectively, and how to keep herself motivated when she's been doing this for some time and she doesn't feel like there's anyone else that she can soundboard her ideas off of that isn't going to shut her down, and that is actually going to help her see where does that fit in to the bigger vision, and then how does she transcribe this vision down to the next level of management, and then down to the team. That's why she has me. So I'm just working with her personally, and then we've already got the game plan about when do I work with the next members, like in the team, and I've worked with them before, so they're not foreign to me, but I haven't worked with her for 2 years. And she's contacted me again. I'm like, okay, but you first, you first before the rest of the team. And that's what I mean by solving a personal problem. Yes, it's impacting the business. We're talking about like she's lost her senior sales director. What is she going to do there? But that's me helping her with her decision making. Again, solving a personal problem that impacts her leadership in the business, then we get in and we solve a business problem more by bringing in the rest of the team. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And, Glenn and David, this could even be like a direction, just what popped to my mind then is it might be like you solve the individual's problem of wanting to have wealth diversification or future security, in gold and silver, but then the equivalent of, personal problem, business problem is maybe personal problem, family wealth, like almost like the family offices, how people want to share it with their kids and their family, like the knowledge and so forth. Even for us, we're like, Michael's kids, my partners, they're all like 23 to 37 years of age. And they're all like having a jab at different things of investment or starting to query about it. So there's an opportunity. I said, why don't we just start the educational side of a family office where we all get together and we actually talk about, what are their goals in investment? What do they want to do? Okay, who wants to do gold, silver? Who's like interested in crypto and who's in property? Because they're all interested in very different things. So, but it's like if you've got that one individual, like if you can get education to them that's relevant to that they want to share with their family, because it's not me who's going to be teaching on investment. It's going to be me finding people like you that I can access the information and we can watch it all together, or we can read it, or we can come and do something, because it's not my area of expertise. Yeah. So that just, does that make sense? That came up as we're talking there as well. And that's how you start to get the multiplier effect, right? Because it's not just you to one, it's you to many. Cool. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Simonia, let's come over to you. You haven't got any questions in here, so I'm going to look at what's been your biggest takeaway from today.
Quite frankly, it's probably that I need to do something. Like the doing nothing
A good
is
decision.
not really working
Yeah.
at all. And even if it's, I won't say that it's wrong, but even if it needs tweaking, just move in a different direction. Just move. And so I was actually going through my emails trying to find the link for the promo plan to just get started. So, yeah.
Did you find the link, or do you need
I did
Rosalind
not.
to send it? All right. Normally they're on the call taking notes of what they need to do. I, in my creator energy, will do my best to remember it all and get it all
I'm a
sent.
star. I'm probably not going to remember either.
I'm like, I'll remember that. And then I'm like, damn. Okay, cool. All right, we'll get that to you. I agree. Make a decision to make a decision is going to be the first thing. Jenny, you've got some questions on here. Based on what we've kind of been talking through, are they still your questions?
You know, a bit, you know, because I played around, because, you know, a couple of my clients are professionals, physicians. I've considered whether or not, if I went the one-on-one route, to hone in specifically on professionals, maybe even physicians, even though ultimately my goal was exactly what you mentioned before, was to develop a certification and train other coaches in my pathway, because it was specifically a blend of lifestyle medicine and NLP. So I didn't expect to be running groups eventually, because I wanted to oversee the training of coaches, hire coaches to train people eventually to groups. And I also had another arm of developing an educational modules. So that was another arm of mine. But that first question was about, like, should I niche down even more? Because I know that was one of the teachings, that, you know, you can't go wrong with being very, very narrow in your niche, which is not necessarily something that I'm opposed to. However, you know, my actually, you know, dream is to reach a lot of people, you know, not necessarily just, let's say, women in their 40s to 50s, but all people,
Yeah.
you know, families. And
Yeah.
so the question is, should I kind of go for the, you know, focus, like you said, on the one-on-one, and go even deeper in terms of narrowing down the focus, which I could do.
Yeah, I mean, when you say focus on one-to-one, I mean, I think in your whole model, you first, then train others, right? Which is exactly what Jo's done as well. So her first, then train others, even though you have been doing it for a long time. To train others on this, well, there's two aspects. You could just train people on the certification side, which is the accumulation of your experience and your tools. But I still think it's going to work better when they see you in your own practice, or a practice that is using those exact methodologies as well. Unless your reputation, Jenny, is big enough that you can go, you know what, you know, and I don't mean big enough as in how many Instagram followers do you have? I mean, just credibility in the industry, right? To go, yeah, here's the course for practitioners. I think if you had your clients and then you bring in your certification for others as a secondary level, that would be key. How far should you niche down? I think you've got a really beautiful pool of already, like saying that kind of 40 to, I can't remember the exact age that you said, but that group there, you could niche and say, you know, choose, well, is it is it mums? Is it those that are, you know, in the corporate world, you know, because they're often got the cash, got more stress, got more imbalance. Like, where is it? Remember too that the reason we ask you often to really drill down on your niche is not because you're going to always going to put a flashing neon sign saying, you know, we're health and wellness for 40 to 60-year-olds who are in the corporate space. It's just so that your messaging speaks their language, right? And that your messaging solves their problems. You will have people that come in from, you know, outside of that as well. But if we go too broad to begin with, we end up getting all sorts, versus the narrower you go, you'll get the majority in that space. Does that make sense? I mean, and particularly when it's different, it's not like you're saying you're, you know, like a friend of mine who's a business coach for dentists and orthodontists. I mean, that's specific, right? So it's not like we want to catch accountants for him. We want dentists and orthodontists. So he's very, very niched in, but you can be a bit more general than that.
Okay.
Yeah. The biggest challenge for most people, as we touched on with Chris, is your default is going to be, here's the solution for them, right? So what I would love for everybody to really do is get super clear on what keeps the customer awake at night. What occupies their mental space that they're not solving, right? What I personally do, I'm a brainstormer, I'm a creator, whether you're a spreadsheet person or a mind mapper, whatever, or whether you just want to verbalize it and have someone else write it. I write all the problems and I make sure I'm using their language. And as soon as I start using a solution, I throw that sticky note away and I go, no, what is the customer saying? What's their problems? No one says, my problem is I don't have a quarterly promotion plan. You know, it's like, I don't know where to start. I don't have enough leads. I'm running out of money. You know, it's, oh my gosh. And then you can ask, and then what? You know, and then what is going to untap their fears? Well, I'm not bringing in enough sales. Well, and then what? Well, I think I'm going to have to give up on my dream in, 3 months' time. This could be the nurses. You know, it's like, and then you really get the juicy stuff that also helps in your marketing. So is it like, therefore, we're going to help you get your first 10,000 in, 3 months? What is it that you can promise? Because from the problems, you flip over to the promise. It has to be real. But the step I do before even the promise is I go, well, what's the mistakes they're making? So if these are the problems that they have, what are the mistakes that they're making? So then I will write those out on another flip chart. And it might be, they don't have a plan, or they're changing their mind all the time. Maybe it's they're not across the numbers and they don't know where the problem in the marketing actually is. It's like, I'm still on the mistakes. I'm not on solution yet, right? Like I'm getting a little bit there. Then what I would do is go and like circle and I would group them into categories. Where's all the salesy stuff or whatever it might be. Where's the nutrition stuff? Where's the, the neuro stuff? Where's the moving your body stuff? Where's, whatever the categories are that fit your business? Because here you start to go, here's the frameworks and the modules, right? Like this is a super rough download on the creation side. But then when you've got the top problems, and go and talk to people, go and talk to your potential avatars and check in, stress test it. Have you got it right? Or they might say, no, that's not my problem. My problem is this. Or, oh yeah, that's they might say something and you think you've said the same thing, but they've actually used a language that's better than your language, right? So do that. And then when you've highlighted the top problems, then I want you to write, well, what do they want? If the problems is misery street, what's happy street? You know, well, I want like 100,000 in 12 months. Someone else will be 100,000 in a month, right? Or I want, it could be mindset stuff. Like I want a business that I love showing up to. Go through the promises, or I want a body that I love and adore. More so than I want a certain goal, like weight or something. Get specific. Again, this all helps you then write your 5 Ps and your compelling offer. So each of these things, I mean, when you do masters with us, we push you to do it fast, right? There's not a lot of time to sit and navel gaze about stuff and embody that customer. So this is the work where we're working on your business that you want to devote a certain amount of time to every week, right? So make sure you've got half a day at least carved out to be working on your business, so that you can really get these things, move to the next step, and that's where you find it will end up happening faster. Does that make sense? Kind of answered a lot of things there, Jenny, in that one thing. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Good. So what has been your biggest takeaway from today?
My biggest takeaway was, really, I think, focusing on the avatar. I know there's a lot of things I want to do, but, just really honing down and getting more kind of experience and really building that up so that I could really have a model by which then I can expand, later on, I think will be very good. So, and I liked also the reference about building the community as well, because I feel that's what I'm doing as I'm doing kind of my free giveaway webinars, which I still find it as a way of just sharing, knowledge that people could use right away. I've gotten feedback.
And it's good practice, right? And then we just want to make sure it fits into the right part of the pathway. Because at some point you either get bored of doing them or, you're too busy to do them. So they need to have purpose for sure. Absolutely. Cool. Sharon, I'm going to circle back to you, just your biggest takeaway from today.
I think it's the community and the model you showed, the website of the Business Chicks. I'm going to get online later and look at that. So thank you. And I'm excited about the model for the bridge, the thing that you did with the level 3s that you're going to send us, and to learn more about the details of setting up my business now so it's saleable. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, great to be here with you all today. First of many calls to come. So I will see you next month. If I forget sending anything, having Rosaline send anything out that I promised, please just ask her or ask me in the WhatsApp group and we will get that out to you. I think I've got it all though. So I will see you all next month. Bye, everyone.
See you. Thanks, Donna. See you all.